So I welcomes you all again in this particular session. In the last session, initially we were discussing about the call by reference and call by value concept. Then we created a new folder to understand the encapsulation concept. Encapsulation means we are hiding some implementations. So just like we don't want to expose this sale price variable of the company, so we just make it private. Now if I need to access this from the same class, then yes, I can access the private members as well. But for an example, if I need to access this from different class, okay, maybe from employee class, then like that is not allowed. I cannot access that particular thing from the different class, right? So yeah, to access that, I need to use the concept of get and set, or we can say getters and setters, right? So yeah, we created some get methods, we created some set methods, or like we can also access this just like I haven't share price, so I can create a method called get share price and return that particular values from this particular method. Okay, and there is one more method. This is same like an method, setter method, where we can pass the value. Then internally using this keyword, this will return that current class object. So this is my class variable and share price is my local variable. So by using the set price method, I can set the value of this share price, and by using the getters, I can get the values. Got it? So yeah, as like just we have one share price, then we need to create get and one set. For example, this name is also private. Then we need to create one and set getter and setter for name as well, right? Okay. So at the end, we were discussing about the example of Flipkart, right? In the Flipkart, let's say we have a login page. Okay, we created a login page. So Aswini, are you able to hear me now? We are going on right track, right? Just confirm.
Yeah, I am able to hear you, but the actual latest screen gets loaded little late at my end.
Okay. Okay, let me share it again then. I hope the login class is visible to you.
At present, blank screen is visible to me. Now it is visible.
Okay. Okay, okay, that's fine. So yeah. So please guys be focused on this topic. I'll ask you the questions and I want your more attention on these concepts. Okay. These are very simple. You just need to put one time attention. If you will be attentive in the class, then you will get it. Otherwise, like you will never understand this concept by reading yourself or watching videos on different YouTube channels. You will never understand. You just need, I want your 100% focus on these classes. Okay. So just like you, we created one login page class, right? In the login page, we have username and password. So both are like private in nature. Like we have make these username and password in such a way that user like anyone cannot access. Otherwise, like, there might be some security issues. Okay, if we can access the username and password of any user. So these are private in nature. Now to access these, just like if I want to access the username from outside class, just like from the Flipkart class. This if I directly write like lp dot just like username, then this will not be allowed, right? Because the username is in private in nature. But get username and I need to set my username from the Flipkart perspective, from the Flipkart registration or the login page, then in the username we will sending some output. Okay, we have created a setter. This is called a setter, right? We will send some values. This value, this is a local variable we can say local variable, and this username is a class variable. So the same username, right? So the value that we are going to pass inside as an argument, so this value would be assigned to this username. This and both these are same. And now
हेलो
class variable username. Yeah.
कितने
Yeah. आवाज आ रही है?
हाँ भाई मतलब कट कट की आवाज आ
Yes.
रही है और स्क्रीन भी चालू है
Yeah. Please
Yeah,
try to
your
speak.
voice is getting not clear enough to understand.
Okay. Okay. Let me check my internet settings. Okay. Yeah. I have changed some settings, some internet settings, so I think it would be better now. Is it loud and clear? My internet settings are fine. Good Mbps speed. Is it okay?
Yes, now
Might
I'm
be some
able
problem
to.
with the Skype.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
able
Yeah,
to hear
please.
it now.
Okay, okay. Please stop me whenever you face any kind of issue. I'll go slow. Okay, just see, is it fine now?
यस
Can you hear me? Okay, okay. Thank you. So I was discussing like the username, the parameter that the value we are going to pass, that would be assigned. This is my local. I would say this one is my local variable. This is my class variable. Local variable means the variable of the method. Okay, the scope of this variable just inside the set username method. I already have discussed this many times. Now this dot username is coming from the global. So the value of username that we are going to pass, the same value would be assigned to this. Okay. So from outside of the login page class, we are assigning the private variables values. To assign these values, we have to use the getters concept, setters concept we have assigned. Now, if I need to get the value, then even I cannot directly call the password, sorry, the username. As simple like I need to call the username, although we have set the value for this. For an example, we have set the username from here using the set username. But if I need to call the username, can I call it directly? No, again I cannot call it directly. Although that is the username is having some value now, admin@gmail.com, but I cannot call them. Why? Because the username is private in nature. So to call that particular username, I need to use get username method. The get username, what is the purpose of this getter? The above one is setter and this one is getter. So the purpose of this is just returning the value that we have assigned to it. Okay, this will just return the value. So we are over here. We are setting the value for username, setting the password, and in the next line, okay, we are just getting those values. Okay, over here, let's forget about the below lines. Yeah, just try to focus on this. Yeah, from here we are just getting the username and getting the password. Okay, let me comment it. So good so far, Aswini. Any question? Any confusion? How to use getters and setters? Or just see if you have any question you may put. Okay. Is it the voice is fine now?
Now it is fine. I think
O-
for login, please open login page again and
Okay.
go down.
Yeah.
Go down again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You are printing little login
Just
created.
created one more method called login. Here I'll pass the username and password. So if I need to use this method, then first I need to set the values for username and password. Otherwise, what I'll print? Nothing. If I need to use in the Flipkart class, if I need to call this login method, just like over here I did, right? If I need to use just like login, so I am getting the, I am just setting, this is my argument. I am sending the username to the method and sending the password from the username to the username. From where I am sending values. First I set those values, then only I can send the get username. First, or I can write it like, let me say, string username is equal to, this is my username, okay, and let us say string first is equal to lp dot get password. Yeah. So now just use and password. You got it? What I am doing? First,
Yes.
I am sending some username. Then I'll set the password values because these are these are just defined. These are like empty. There is no such values defined over here. These are the empty variables, right? So although I cannot access directly, so I have created set username and set password, right? So first I'll set the value of the username and value of the password. My next step would be I'll get those values that I have set. So this username would be admin@gmail.com and this password would be admin123. Now I need to call this method. I need to work on the login concept of the application for an example. So I need to supply two values, string to string values, username and password. So these values would be same like username and password, but from where we'll get these values? Just like get username, we have username and password. Directly supply the value over here, username and password. So we'll be able to log in successfully, right? So we are supplying these value from this class itself, right? Admin, just like we need to log in into the Flipkart. So from the Flipkart login page, we will be sending some username and password, right? Then the internally user will authenticate those values, right? And okay, and we will be able to log in into the successfully log in into the application. So is that clear? Any doubt?
No.
Okay. So don't be in confusion. Like if you have any 1% down, then please put the questions. It will give you like more confidence, or there should be no doubt. Yeah. Now in this like in this part we discussed that in future by using the set we can update the password as well. Initially the password was 123. Now I can set a new password by using the status. So this is also the advantage of getters and setters. I can update the password whenever I want. So if again I'll try to print these values, then the updated password will get print, right? Okay. So yeah, this is how we need to set the getters. This is how we need to work on the get and set properties. Got it? This is my set username and get username, set password and get password. Okay, cool. Now there is a different method also available inside the C sharp. We can, like for an example, today we just have username and password. Tomorrow, let us say you have lots of values over here. Let us say you have private, let us say captcha. Okay, captcha you don't need to get that. You just need to set the values. Okay, so some values that we need to get and set. Just like along with the username password, you need to provide your phone number. Okay, might be there might be instead of login page, we can consider the registration page where we need to provide the username, where you need to provide, let us say private uh, string your email id, right? Or let us say private string the phone number that we already have discussed, and maybe some other values just like mm, anything can be there. We have username, password, email, or let us say address. So there might be like multiple numbers of these class variable. So don't you think that it would be tedious every time to create getters and setter for username, getters and setters for password, for phone number, for email? There would be loads of redundant work over here. So C Sharp provide some we can say get and set properties to eliminate this work. The same work getters and setters can be achieved using the get and set keyword, or we can say get and set properties. The work would be same, but the like syntax would be little bit different. So what you just need to do, let me uh, just I need to Google it, like what is the shortcut, or this should give the implementation. Let me share username. Just give me a minute. I'm Googling it. Let us say to generate getters and setters in Visual Studio. Control Shift P. Let me try it. Control Shift P. No, it's not working. Okay, just give me a minute. I'm just finding it for you to make it easier. Mm, C sharp, not Java. Yeah. Yeah, this is how we can do that. Select all, command generate. By generate, I mean auto generate the code. Control K, prop. Okay, there are multiple methods. Control K and Control X. I need to select this first. Hmm. What was the things that it was typing? CENER. I'm just exploring it. Okay, so yeah, so there are multiple ways to do it. This is also like simple. You can just like prop. Okay, you write properties. Prop stands for properties, and just like double tap, you just need to do that. Okay, so my properties would be generated in this way. So for an example, I need to generate the properties for this. Define dependency properties. No, I don't want dependence properties. I want simple properties. Just give me a minute, guys. Yeah. Yeah, the refactor option is over there. Encapsulate field. Is there any refactor? No, we will not get in Visual Studio. Let it. So in yeah, I have tried this. So this option was available in the old Visual Studio version. There was a refactor option over here, but like I am exploring all these things because the refactor is not available now. So there must
बेस्ट
be any.
ऑप्शन है ना
No, that is rename. I think
नहीं ये
rename.
क्योंकि attention and
Yeah, it's okay. So yeah. So now this was the straightforward present over there. Now we have to encapsulate field. Okay. So there is a shortcut mentioned. Like it's right control or control E. Right? Control or. Let us say I'm printing control or control or. You must be rename as an ID. Yeah. This is the thing I need to discuss with you. Okay. So one way, you need to uh, write, you just use by your own self, you created this username, then by your own you created this username set, then you created get over here. But there is like you can create the values, these values using, I'm discussing about that get and set properties. Okay, so these are getters and setters methods. Now we are discussing get and set properties. So yeah, there are multiple ways to do it. Okay, so this will the job would be same. We will again assign the values. Okay, and then we'll again get the values, but in an automatic way. How can you do that? First way is just first understand the internal concept of that properties. Let us say I need to generate the properties for this. Either you can do it manually. How to define a property manually? Let us say if I have this particular username method, so the properties get and set properties would be created just like public in username, right? Public string username. Okay, and now just give the curly braces. So the intelligence is already showing the get method. You see, if I'll press the tab, then this will accept and we can return the username. Okay, I need to write it like this: get username, this is my get property. And if I need to write set, okay, this is my set inside a single. Now this is not any method, like there is no like these small brackets over here, right? There is no parenthesis and kind of value. This is then simple property. Okay, this will call and getters and setters, get and set property, right? So this is my username. Always remember this start with small u, and here I have given the capital U over here, right? So this is a good practice to write. You can give any name, but like this is a good practice. So anyone can identify, yeah, this is the get and set property for the username. Then we will create the same kind of properties for the password. Yeah. So just like I'm commenting all these just for the time being, the getters and setters. Yeah. Now for an example, the this single method will do our job now. Okay. For an example, we just have two variables so far, just username and password that we were discussing. Now already have defined that property for username. Let us define the property for password. So the intelligence is already giving me the like public string password. P is capital over here, right? Now if I need to assign like generate get and set, then I can do it right directly like that. So this is my get property generated. Or if I need to set as well, then just write set and press tab. Then my password would be generated like this, right? Now what are these? This is the property for username and this is the password. How does this will work? So now if you'll notice Flipkart test, then there are some errors, right? Because why this is an error? Because I have commented the set username method, right? There is no set username method present now in this class because I have commented this code. That's why it's showing this error, like you cannot call this because there is no access methods available over there, right? So that's why it's showing an error. Okay, if I'll comment it, now I need to use these properties. Okay, username and password. So it's very simple. You can directly assign the values just like by using LP. You can directly call the properties the capital username. Remember guys, there is no small username. That means we are not able to call the class variable username. This is, I can call the properties and directly set the value over here, just like the same value. If I need to set over here, what it will take as an input, this will take as in string as input. Okay, directly I'm setting the values over here. Okay, the type of username is string, that's why I'm setting the string value over here. Okay, so first let me write it like this. So the value of this that we have defined, this is the value that we will send from here. So the value is admin@gmail.com. So this value represents the value that we are giving to this. Then this value would be set to the username. Okay. Same thing. The same thing we are doing in a shortcut way, right? So this is our value that we will send, right? And the value would be assigned to the username, right? To username, this particular username, and this username belongs to the class username, right? This class variable. And now using the get, we can access the, we are returning the same username. Same for password, we will set the values directly for password and we'll directly get the password. Let us see. If I need to set, for an example, I have set the value for username. If I need to get the value of username, then what would be? Let us say, what is my username? I need to get. Then again write the same syntax, right? lp.set, then you are setting the value, and again you are using lp.get, then you are again getting the value. So this is how we can do that. First we are setting the value, then we are getting the value. So don't be confused, like whenever you use this practical at the time of framework implementation, these are very small and like easy concept. So initially we were setting and getting the values using methods. Now we are setting and getting the values using properties. These are called C sharp properties. Okay, just set the value and directly get the value. Similarly, if you need to set the password, lp.password, isn't it easy? Like just like, and very user friendly. The same password I need to set it in this way, admin123. Okay, and if you need to get the password, then use like lp.password. Simply you can do that. Then your password will be get here. This property will, you see, like this is having two references. We have used this property two times. How? First we are, you can see over here, first we are just assigning some value to this, setting some value, and then we are getting some values, right? Is there any confusion? And now I want to log in into the application. So for an example, if I need to log in into the application, then I just directly I can let us say I can provide the username and password to the login method, and I would be able to log in successfully, right? So if I will not set these values, then there would be any kind of error? No, there would be not any error. But always remember, this would give an default value of a string, right? Because we haven't set any value and we're directly getting the lp.username. That's why it will print the default value. But first we need to set the value, then only we can get the value, right? So yeah, this is how like we can do that. And this set password over here, what we did, we just updated, or we can say if someone forgot the password and we got the updated password, then how we did that, how we can do it that over here. Simply you need to do, nothing need to do, just for an example you need to update the password, then just call password and type the new password, the capital P password. Let us say my updated password is admin 980. Then again if you will print this, the same lp.login, and you need to get the property, then the updated passwords would get printed, correct? This is how we need to define the properties. These were the getters and setters methods. We will note in Java there is, I think there is no as such options to define these direct properties, but yeah, in C sharp we have. So we'll not define the methods. Okay, and that can be called just like I created it manually, just like username and password. I can create it automatically as well, just like as I told you that we may have private phone number, private email address. So there might be lots of properties. So let us say we have some more method, more variables. I need to generate the username and password for them. So how I'll do that? I'll simply click on this, or there is an option that just he told me, like just select this quick action of refactoring. Just select this option. Yeah. So there are multiple options. You can generate constructor. The next topic is constructor. You can equals get hash code. So there is an option like and use properties. And but like encapsulate field, this is an encapsulate field, just like if I'll select the use properties, then like this method would get generated. So this is the same, like it's printed in a single line. We can separate it like this, or we can kept it like that also. Yeah. So you can generate it directly, right? Or uh, yeah, let me first execute it and see the output, whether we are doing the correct implementation or not. Let's execute it. See, let us see the console output. So we have just created the object of the class, then we are setting the property value, and we are getting the property values. Yeah. So first we should get uh, the value of the lp.username should get printed, then the password should get printed, and then we should be able to log in into the application. Then admin, this got printed, this got printed, and this is my the first password that I set. Then I updated the password using the property. So my outputs are correct. So are we good so far? Any doubt so far? Jassi and Ashwini, any doubt till here?
No.
Okay. Ashwini? Okay.
There are two classes now. That's in which class you are writing what. That I have to analyze first and then.
Yeah, two classes. One class is login page, because there would be n number of classes
Yeah.
inside and frame. Yeah. So this is in Flipkart. This is like kind of user perspective. So we are the users. So Flipkart is this is for user, how the user will, and this is the backend class in which the logic is written, right? From the user perspective,
Mm.
I'll just directly give the values. Okay. From the user perspective, I'll directly set the values. Okay. And in return, I should be successfully. So over here inside the login method, we are just printing the value, but in real time, there would be some code written inside this that will help us to log in into the application. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So there is one more way we can simplify this bit more. Okay. If you need to simplify it, you can directly uh, let me tell you, just like you got this concept, you can simplify it bit more. How to do that? Let me uh, just do one thing. Let me try it out. Use property. Yeah, that we already have done. Yeah. So this is the simplified method of this. Let me update it. Yeah. For an example, you have created username and password, right? Now, what you can do, just select this, or you can write it manually as well. And if you'll select, this is called auto property. These are not auto properties. We can say these are get and set properties, and there are two type of properties. These are the get and set properties, and that is also get and properties that we are just going to generate. But those are called auto properties. That means these return value, these concept will not be mentioned over here, but they are just automatic. If you'll select this, right click, quick actions and refactoring. If you'll select the auto property keyword over here, let us say auto property, then the property for username will be, or we can say, automatically generated. Okay. Now you can define it. You can let it be here, or let us say private in string username. Yeah. So now let me explain this. You see, there is only single line code, public string username, right? and there should not be any error. So internally, this is working like this only. We need to set the values over here and we need to get the values, but there that will be like internal working of this. Externally, we can write it like this only in a single line. Public string username. Now there is an warning as well. Non-nullable property username must contain non-nullable values when existing constructor. Okay. So this also, if we have defined any properties inside, if we have created any property inside class, that means by default the name of the properties must be an private kind of variable inside that class. Just like we have defined username, that means there must be an private kind of username that we should define, right? So if I'll comment this, let us say I have comment the username, right? So there would be no as such error over here, right? Because we over here we are not taking any variable where we need to set the values and get the values. We can directly use the properties in this, right? For an example, if you need to create the property for a password, then this is showing just an intelligence like just tab public string password. Then I don't need this. Even I don't need this, or even you don't need to create. Let me comment it. So you don't need to create the variables even for these. This will directly consider as a variable, or you can say properties. This is the property for username. This is the property for password. Okay. Then you can directly call the value. First set the value and get the value. Okay. This is very simplified. You can see even you no need to define the variables. You can directly use these properties. So this property would be only used in case of encapsulation only. Internally, what is the things? Internally, everything is same. If you want to explore it, then this is the code. For an example, if you want to explore, you want to understand what is the public string get and set. So this is the entire code, internal working. So there is a property where you need to set the password and you need to set the value, and then you will get the values. This is the internal working. And there is also an kind of, we can say, class variable defined. The name of the class variable is password, but all these values, all this work can be done by a single line called public string username, public string password. Got it? Any confusion? Now you see how it is, how easy it is to use. We need not to define the variables. We need not to define the getters and setters method. Okay, how to get the value, how to set. Even we not need to define all the get and return keyword inside this. Just a single line public string. If you not need to encapsulate these values, so you can do that. And these are like encapsulated values only. They are internally, they are private, right? Is there any question?
Uh, there is one warning inside that username and password, that
Yeah,
green line is showing.
I'll come to this.
So why it is?
Yeah,
Because I'm not able to
yeah.
hear you.
No, no. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. This is related to the nullable property. I'll discuss this later. Don't worry about this. Did you get the concept of properties? This is the nullable warning. If we need to get the value over here, this warning will be get away. I'll explain you. But like, did you get the concept of properties?
Yes.
How to define the property and how
Yes.
to get and set. So if
Yes.
I need to use these properties inside the same class, can I do that? Let me say if I need to give the value to the username. Let us say my username is something like tom@gmail.com. Yeah, can I use it like this? Yes, I can directly give these values from here, right? I can define the values from here. I can use, because the private variables also we can use from the same class, or we can use these properties in the other classes as well. Okay, so you get it, like how to generate the properties. There are multiple ways to generate. Just write prop keyword. You can like generate the properties. Here you can give the property name just like you have given username. You just need to write like prop double tap. Okay, you can say it's my phone number. It's very easy to declare the property. This is my phone number. This is my, you can say, mail ID, right? Similarly, you can do that. Got it? And this is like integer type of values. This got generated. We can make it a string as well, whatever our requirement. So see how easy to create the properties. Like the warning would be for phone number also. Okay, and we'll resolve this in next session. So you got like how to define the properties. I need your thumbs up on this. So you see like how we have reduced the code, how much we have reduced the code. First we were defining the variables, private variables. Then we cannot access these private variables from outside the class. Then we created some method, some getters to get these call to like to, some setters to set these values to these variables. Then we are using getters to call these values. Then we understood the concept of first get and set properties where we are defining the value through value keyword, and now we are simply in a single line we are using the phone number and email or username, whatever we want, right? Is that okay? Ashwini?
Yes, yes.
Good. So we were using these property lots of time inside our framework. Okay, many values we would need to define it at the time of property. Okay, so always have this particular thing in your mind. Now, let us say, so far we have understand, we are just, till now we were just defining variables as in private. Okay, and and using those variables using getters and setters concept properties. But we haven't seen yet any example of the private method, right? So let me create some private method. For that, let me create a new class. This is a new example. So in new class, let me take a name of the class just like browser. Okay. So this is my new class. Okay, guys. Inside this, let me say I have some methods public. So this is a very practical example why we are using the private. Okay, why we are making these variables and methods as private. Okay, let us see public void. I have a method called launch browser. Got it? Okay. In which we are just launching the browser. Just print a line. Launch browser. Right? I have some more public methods. To launch the browser, just like in Selenium, if you want to launch the browser, so internally Selenium what will do? The browser you will pass, just like you pass the Chrome browser. So internally that Selenium will look what is your operating system, what is the latest version of your browser, what is the library that you have installed, like Chrome driver inside your system. You need to install the Chrome driver. So which version you of the Chrome driver version you are using. So all the compatibility the Selenium will check inside. That are not the exposed method, but like this is the internal working. But what we can just see that we will pass Chrome driver and our browser should get launched. Okay, but internally the Selenium will also look for, let us say, public void version. Let me print check for version, right? And let's take one more method. Selenium maybe like Selenium is checking we have enough RAM or not to launch this browser. So all these are private methods of Selenium, but for now, just to understand this, we are making this is an public. So this is only the public method. we can just launch the browser. Internally, what the Selenium is verifying, we don't know, right? Let us say check enough RAM method is there. So we will just print check RAM. Okay. So we are having three methods over here. Now this particular class, we can say it's an implementation class, right? We are just implement these methods over here, and we are not using all these methods inside this class from the user perspective, just like we have a browser class. So end user will use from these days from the some different class, okay? Just like we are using the login from Flipkart. Similarly, I need to create one more class. Let me add a class. Let us say it's browser test. Okay. So we have browser test class where we need to call where we need to launch the browser. Okay. So if I need to call all those methods that I have defined inside the browser class. So how can I do that? I need to create the object of browser class. Then only I can do that using the object reference, right? So before that, I need to create man method, right? So that I can create object. I can directly cannot create object of the browser class over here. Let us say if I going to do like this, browser br is equal to, let me create it over here, new browser, right? I have created defined the project. I can directly create it over here, or I need to create the object of the class. There might be few issues that we can face if we are directly creating the object over here. I'll explain that later. If I need to call, let us say br dot, then am I getting all these the math? You see, am I getting all the options? No, I'm not getting all the options. I'm not getting anything because we are directly defining the this particular object on the class level. So from where our execution will start, where there is no as such like methods mentioned from where we can start the execution, right? To start the execution, we would be needed the man method. So first we need to create a man method. How to public static void man? You can like the shortcut to generate the method is like public svm. You can write svm static void man and just double tap it. Okay, your man method would automatically get printed. Okay, let me say svm. Okay, and double tap. Your man method will be printed. Now, if you need to call all these values, just like yeah, then all options are there. First,
I'm
you need
not
to
able to see the main method. What you are typing? Only br dot. Now the screen is locked.
so you are not able to see the man method.
Now I am seeing the main
Okay,
method.
okay, yeah, yeah, it might be little bit lacking, but like internet connection is fast, it might be the issue of that software we are using. Type, yeah, my internet connection are working pretty well. Okay, so now you see the main method. You may use the public keyword over here, but like this is how you can generate it automatically using svm. Let me do it again for you. svm static void main, right? So you can see in the intelligence as well, code or void main method, right? Note में क्या लिखा हुआ है? Note tab twice to insert the svm snip. So if you print twice, then the main method will get generated. Got it? Or did you get it? So this is how we can generate the main method. Okay. So okay, I already have explained one observation like what is this? This is in string kind of values that we can insert from here. Just give me a minute. Just please be. Yeah. So can you hear me? Thank you guys. Please be on mute. You can hear me. Okay, so this is how we can generate a main method. Now let's create the object of the class. We have browser class. Let us say browser is equal to new browser, right? Can I call all these methods of browser class? Yes, because all of the methods are private in nature. Sorry, public in nature. So let me call the launch browser first. Okay, then let me call the browser version was method was there. Check version. Okay, and let me call the nfram method was there. Check nfram. Okay, but let's talk about the end user perspective. Practically, do we really need these methods like check version, check nfram? So I really don't need all these methods. Like I need don't want to check the version of the browser. This is the Selenium works. End user is just want to launch the browser. He don't want to check the version or RAM. This is the job of Selenium, right? So end user might get confused. Like I am able to launch the browser. Then end user might say I can check the browser. So here the end user will get confused. So rather than like providing this is an public method, the Selenium internally have defined all these methods as private. Let us say let us make this as private. Now we are not using any property over here. We are just making methods as in private, right? Now can we use private methods? No, there is a warning. Okay, inaccessible due to its protection level. We have protected Selenium have protected these methods. So that's why we are not able to use this method. Correct? So now the other methods are hidden. This is how it should work. Okay. For an example, there is an just understand it from the end user's perspective. Let us say we have created browser class object. Browser br is equal to new br, and there is an end user. Okay. For an example, this is an end user who is accessing this object. Okay. Now, as soon as we'll create the object, all the variables and method will get load. All the, just like these are some my public methods, these one and these two are my private methods. Everyone will get loaded. But when the user will go to the public method, okay, then yeah, it will say yes, you can access this. But we have added a protection layer. If you want to access the private methods, then we will say no, these are the protected method and you cannot use this. So this is the practical implementation of the private methods. Like that will not be you can say uh, able to access, user cannot access, because this is the how encapsulation works with the private things. Got it? Okay. So yeah, in the practical time as well, just like Selenium has lots of methods. We can say launch, we can say driver dot get url, or we can say driver dot uh, we can use action classes, driver dot select commands is there. We have like lots of things there are from the practical perspective, from the driver perspective. So in the real life example, we can say just like you need to launch the browser, you can say driver.url, okay, or driver.find element. So use driver.url. So url is just an public layer. Inside the url there are lots of more than 50, we can say, private methods are implemented by Selenium. So we don't require those. These that are the protection layer of Selenium. So we'll have access to the public methods only. Got it? And we have system class. Let me check one thing. System dot, yeah, right, this is not being allowed namespace. Okay, so yeah, okay, so this is the concept, guys. I hope you have understood this at the in the page object model, or we will use this. So this is how the encapsulation work. So in encapsulation, what we understood, I also give you the definition. So in the encapsulation, we can have the private variables and methods, right? So how to access private variables using get and set properties, and how to access private method? You cannot access that. You can only access the public methods. This is how we will conclude this topic. Is there any question so far, Aswini and Jassi?
No question.
Are you fine? Feeling confident in this? If someone will ask you, hey, explain the encapsulation, will you be able to explain like, yeah, encapsulation means to hiding some properties. We can make the variables and methods and private, then the methods will not be accessible, and if you need to access that variables, then you just need to define the property or get us and set us method. Through that, you can set first, you will set the property and then will get the value of the property. You got it? There is like I have explained, you give many classes, you can see, give you lots of examples just to make you comfortable in the real time how will you use this. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll move some new topic. So now we were creating just simple objects, just like we have created one object over here. Okay. For an example, we have some employee. Okay. So employee may have some different kind of requirements. Okay. For some employees, we just need some liabilities would be there of the employee, just like there might be some required thing for the employee, might be name and ID, and some non-required fields might be there. So we need to define these value at the method level, or we can say at that constructor level. So we can use this using the constructor. So the next topic is constructor. I'll explain you how to achieve that. Constructor means to construct the object. Okay. So let me create one more folder or package over here. Add folder. So let's give it a good name. CTO constructor concept, right? Inside the constructor concept, let me close it. Yeah, let's create one class. My class name is, let us say, employee, or you can take customer, whatever you want. I have an employee, right? So we are going to understand the concept of constructor. Let us say this employee class have some class variables or class properties, just like employee would be having name, right? It may have ID, or it may have age. Employee may have salary in double, let us say, and some bool value as well. Let us say employee is active or not. Okay. So we are defining, we are not setting any value, just defining these variables, class variables, and let us say character, the gender of the employee, whether it's male or female. Okay, you can take this also, whatever you want to define. Yeah. Now, so you have some variables of the employee. These are the properties of the employee. Now you need to access these properties. Okay. Let me create one more class from where we will assign the values to all these employees. Let us say employee test, emp test, where we will use or call all these values. Inside this, if I need to use those values, and I need to create the object of the employee class so that I can access. So let's create main method first, a static void main. Inside the main method, let's create the object of the employee class. Okay, employee is equal to new employee. Let's take it little shorter. Yeah, if you need to access, this is the object, new employee is the object, emp is the object reference, this is the class name, right? Okay, now if you need to use, if you need to call the name, if you need to assign the name to the employee, this is object means we have created one employee inside our database, or like till now this is just in class means in blueprint, there is no practical or physical employee present, but we have created object means we have created one employee. So this particular, let us say employee one, we have created one employee. So this employee would be having some name, everything. This would be having everything that has the class that is defined inside the blueprint. So let us say employee one is name is equal to, not equals, name is equal to, let us say Purnima. We have some name. Okay, we are getting, okay, we need to take uh, emp dot, did we define name over here inside the employee class? Yeah, what is the error? The same kind of name must be contain a non-nullable value. Make the field read only. Private member employee name is unused. Control plus alt and read only, or I need to check it, non-label field. So we are not talking about the constructor yet. We are just defining the value. Let us say anything if I'll do that, or I'll do it below. Well, still I get the error. Yeah, this is the one, non-nullable field name must contain a non-null value when existing constructor consider declaring the field as nullable. Okay, might be something I need to check it. Can I call this? Can I call the age? I have inside the same. I have created an employee class, same constructor, and inside, sorry, same folder, and inside the same folder I have created that the emp test, and inside the emp test I am creating the object of the employee class. Constructor concept, my space name is say, right. Now I have created an object emp1 dot. Now why I'm not getting all these values? Have I created the correct man method? Yes, it's correct. Okay, I need to make it public. No, there should not be a such error. Let us say employee age and salary. Hmm. Are we missing anything? Any input, guys? We have created a default constructor over here. Getting, might be we did some mistakes. Okay, let's check it again from the scratch. Over here, we are not doing, we are just creating an internal class called class employee, and we are just simply defining some uh, we can say variables of the class. Okay, that every day we used to do that. Now if I need to use these, I need to call these from the different class. In this particular class, let me say employees, the name of my class. Inside the employee, not able to access. Hmm, let me create one. Can I call it like name? I create the object over here. Okay, and if I need to call a dot name, yeah, this is being allowed inside the same class. Yeah, it's allowed over here. We can create the object inside this class. But do we have any other class with the same name? No, we don't have any EMP test. Inside the EMP test, we are using the same. We just did it right. Inside that concept, we are just doing the same thing. We are creating login page or some properties, then creating the object login page inside some other class. Same concept over is there. Login page as the and calling all these properties, but
I think Aniket, you have mentioned string in that main string arguments passing. Whether this is
these arguments, these like these are the
in,
default array type of arguments. I think this should have should not be any kind of issue.
no.
Like this is arguments are different things. You can define, as I told you, that you can define main method in a different way.
Yeah, but there should be one method without any arguments inside that you told you once.
Sorry.
There should be one main method that could be void. Now, void main method without any argument should be there inside a class.
No. Like you can define it like in this way as well. Both are same. Okay. Uh, it's not mandatory that it should be without any argument. There either it should be blank, means void. Void is always there. Okay, void means there is no return type of the main method. Man method will always be void.
Mm.
But either you can keep it blank without any parameter, or you can give the parameter like this. This means this may take input as I have explained you this in one of the session. I am remembering this. I have explained you that you
Yeah.
can define it like this only. This also, where your input would be like stream kind of arrays. You can define it like this also. So both are main method. Either you can define it blank or in this way. Both would be same, right? Both would be treated as main method in C sharp. So that is okay. But something we missing. Let me create these classes again. Might be some library kind of issues. Let me delete. Let me quickly set the concept class. Okay. Yeah, we may face issues that no. We need to make it read only. class call. In main method we would be having it go. So we are
The pub the public keyword you are not using in the main method.
no, that is okay. That is not an. I'll explain you like when we need to use public and all. I'll also teach you that access modifier at that time. There might be when we imported these properties. I'm just coming into my mind when we were working with all these properties. Then we should not did any mistake. Okay. Same kind of, yeah. So we can set this using read only, but okay, I need to check it, guys. I need to explain you as well, like what is the issue that we are facing currently. Yeah, this is that thing. There is very small concept, but still we are getting all that generic accesses are present. That means if we are not getting those values, that means the object of the employee class might not get. Let me try it something different. We are not able to do that. Still, we are not able to do it. Let me try it inside this. Can we do it over here? Let me say I have defined. Let us say, okay. Might be that is the problem. These are the internal protected method. I need to use public keyword. Yeah. Can I do it? Can I access those now? Inside the test TMP, yeah. Let me close it. We have employee T inside employee T. Employee test, we have name and age. Then we have test employee, where we have man. And now MPT is equal to MPT. Yeah, T dot. Now I should get. See, guys, what we were missing. So this is the concept of like there is a default concept. If we are not using this, let me tell you one more concept. I'll also teach you. Default access specifier in C sharp for variables. Yeah. So this is internal by default and a private for class member. Like see this line. If we will not define any access modifier over here, just like it's public or private, then internally C sharp will consider this as a private class member. Got it? Aswini, if we haven't defined any public or private keyword over here, then internally this is that implementation of C sharp. By default, the access modifier of the class is internal and the private for the class members. So all these are my class members, right? Name and age. These are just directly defined inside the class. So these are my class members. So I need to give the access modifier with these as well. Otherwise, this will consider these as an private class members. So we need to define these as public. I'll explain you this concept at the time of access modifier, but yeah, this was the issue, right? Let me know if you have any confusion over here. We have wasted lots of time on this. Let me change my class name. It was employee. Okay, yes. And let us say employee again created. Employee has name, ID, public. Let us say employee string, some other kind of value, just like let us say double salary. And whatever value, we also used one bool value for is active. First take public bool is active, and again you need to use, let us say, character gender. Okay, that's how we need to define this, and we'll create one class called emp test, or whatever name you can have it. Here you will just create the object of the employee class, and you will easily able to access emp.name is equal to, you can give a meaningful name just like Tom. Okay. Now let's say emp reference, object reference as emp, not t. Right now, you can access emp dot, let us say age. Okay, let us say employees age is 40, and name we have already took. Let us say employee ID. The ID of the employee is, let us say 007. What kind of value is? ID is an integer. Yeah, it's an integer. Age and ID both are integer. So if I need to access emp dot salary, okay, then I can have, let's say integer this as well, or you can take the 12.33 LPA maybe. And the other value, just like you need to call the gender of the employee, then let us say it's an male. Yeah, this is how you need to call all these values. Okay, so for now we were having an employee class, and we need to access the class variables of the employee. Then we created a single object. This is my first employee, I can say one employee. Okay, then I need to change these object references. For an example, tomorrow this we may need, like company may have multiple employees, so that time multiple objects would be needed. For an example, if I need to create one or more object, okay, employee 2, then again I need to define all these properties for that particular employee. Maybe name would be different, ID must be different, name might be same but ID must be different, age would be. So as much as object we would create, every time we would be defining these properties of the employees. Okay, so we need to create, just like we need
You have assigned name double time, Tom.
okay, it's okay, we can remove it. Yeah, so the main point is, we need to create, just like we need 10 employees inside the company, so we need to create 10 more objects from, and we again need to define the value like the above, just like name, age, ID, salary, and gender. Okay, so creation of the object we cannot avoid. Okay, the object would be multiple, that is the object oriented programming. But it would be a tedious job to define this property for an employee for again like this for an employee 2 the values are like this, for employee 3 the value would be like this. So then constructor comes into the picture. Okay, so what the facility a constructor provide, let me explain you. Let us say constructor. So constructor, so what is the constructor? Let us say name of the constructor will be same as the class name, right? The constructor name would always be same as the class name. Okay, just like we have an employee class. Okay, for the employee class you want to make the constructor of this class. Then how you will do that? Just employee, the name of the class, and for the method we are using these brackets and the curly braces. So you see, we need to define it public. Yeah, this is our constructor. You can see this is called constructor, or we can say this is zero parameter. This is not a method. Zero parameter constructor. Okay, or we can also call it a default constructor, right? If I have created a constructor which name, always the name of the constructor would be same as the class name. Okay, this may looks like a method, but this is not a method, this is a constructor. Okay, uh, I look into guys this non-nullable. I'll explain you that non-nullable field. Okay, you got it. Now let me explain you. So we have created one constructor, right? My first point is that the name of the constructor will always be same as the name of the class. Okay. The second point about the constructor is that constructor cannot have any return type. Okay. There would be no void inside this. There would be no any return value. It would be like empty. So let me write it. Constructor won't have any return type, means no void, no return statement. Okay, we haven't defined any return type over here. Okay, now, so my question over here, can we override a constructor? Just we did like method overriding. Can we overload a constructor? We have understood the overloading concept. Overloading means same methods. The method overloading means same method with different kind of or type of parameters. Like some value might be integer, some integer string. The parameter type would be different, or the parameter quantity would be different. So similarly, can we? The question is, this is also an interview question. Can we overload the constructor? And the answer is yes. The constructor can be overloaded. Let me create one more constructor over here, and this constructor will accept, let us say, mm, name or whatever the value you want to take it. Let me take it, let us say integer name, just like for an example. This is the input. So now I have created one more constructor. So now this is called one parameter constructor. This is not the default constructor. This is called one parameter constructor, right? Or parameterized constructor. This was the default constructor, and also the parameterized constructor name would always be same as the class name, right? So this is my default constructor. This is one parameter concept constructor. Okay. Now, if I need to create the object of this employee class, as soon as, always remember, whenever we used to create, any time when we create the object of any class, at that time constructor will always gets invoked. Here, even though that is not written inside this, as soon as we'll create the object, the default constructor will always get invoked. Okay, inside this I have called, you can see, I here we are calling the default constructor because there is no as such parameter, and if I need to invoke the parameterized constructor, okay, if I need to like invoke the parameterized constructor, then how we can do that? Let me, let us say we are sending the value of name from here, just like or directly value, because this will going to accept. Okay, I'm just giving an example and we'll explain you like how it's showing in error. So now you can see this would be string. Yeah. So this is have one reference. Over here we are just calling which constructor will be called invoked over here. The default constructor, because this don't have any, you can say that argument. And in this line I'm creating one more object. This time I am sending one argument as a string type of argument. So my parameterized constructor would be called. Got it? This is like I can create n number of constructor with different kind of parameters. I can create n number of parameterized constructor, right? Okay, just like I need to create one more constructor. I'll write like public name would be same as in class name. Let us say I need to create an object with, I need string name integer id. I would need this. Okay, so now I have defined these values like this. Okay, now I need to use these values. Let me say I need to use this, I need to call this constructor. Let me create one more constructor over here. Okay, in which I can provide the value like this, integer, and what I need to provide, let me say, if I don't change this value, then that employee with that one parameter would get called, and if I want to give, let us say I provide 25 would be my age, so my two parameter constructor would get invoked, this one. Okay, so the advantage of this is we can create object with multiple values, right? If I need to create object without any value, then I can use like this. If I can use the object with, like with default name of that employee, if I need to create employee with name and age, so I can create object with certain multiple values. Got it? Okay, further, just say I have giving integer name. So over here, by using the concept that we just discussed, I can write it like this dot name is equal to name, right? This dot id, id is equal to id, right? We can do it like this. Yes, we have understood this concept in encapsulation. The use of this keyword, use, so this name that we will supply, that will come over here. Okay, and will be assigned to the class variable to this name. Further, inside this class we can use the name of the employee, and this id would be assigned to this id. Further, we can use the id. Okay, so this is how we can always use these methods. Okay, got it? How to use like this one parameter constructor, two parameter constructor. Okay, or we can create a method where if we need, I need to create a constructor where I want to give all these values. Just be with me, you will understand all the logic. For an example, we have name, okay, or if you need to, just like you have defined something over here, you can create another constructor that would be passing all these values like name, integer, salary, is active, gender, everything. Okay, now let us say you have defined it like this. You have defined this dot these values and this dot these values. Now you want to print, let us say from here, what the type of this parameter, this two type parameter, you want to print the value that you have defined. Let us say if you will call emp3 dot name. Okay, let me add an concatenation plus, let me say emp, you need to print the name and age of the employee third, right? So what will be the output? What will be the output? You directly supplying the name from here, the age from here, that will come over here. This name would be assigned to this and will be assigned, the id would be assigned to this. Now from the object of this class, employee class, you are calling these value name and id. Here you are calling the name and here you are calling the age. So you should get the same value that you have assigned from here. Okay, let's execute it and see the output. To execute it, we need to set the application object, class object. Let's do it. So what we are understanding, we are understanding different types of how, in which type we can define the constructor. What is the advantage of using constructor? Okay, here just set the object to emp test. Now inside the emp test, let's execute it from here. So you are printing Ankit 0 by 0 and this is the default value. Okay, the name got printed correctly and this is the integer value. Come over here, this dot id, are we using the same id? Our expectation is that id should get printed over here, name and id. So we have one reference for this employee. We are providing, sorry, we are calling age. You see, so if I'll call the age, then I haven't defined the value of age yet. So all the method will, as soon as I'll create the object, let us say I have created three objects. One is employee 1, employee 2, and employee 3. Inside every employee, all the data like name, age, id, salary, gender would get loaded with a name, age, salary, id, gender, name, age, salary, id, gender. But the variables, class variable will get loaded with when we will create the object of the class, but the value will not get assigned. By using this object, we have assigned two values, name and we can say age. Only two values we have defined. Other thing like age, we have defined id and name. Other like age, salary, gender, these are still empty. So if I want to access this, yes, I can call these just like emp.age, I can call this, but the value would be the default value because we haven't set the value of age and salaries and gender yet. Okay, that's why it was showing 0. So for that, for employee, if I'll mouse over to this, if I'll go inside this, then we have set the value of id, of name and id. So if I need to get the value of id, then I need to call emp.id. Okay, I'll run this. I should get the correct output. Okay, let me close it and run it again. You see, I'm getting the correct output, Ankit and 25. Similarly, you can create multiple constructors, just like we have created default constructor. Okay, we have created one more constructor, one parameter constructor, two parameter constructor. Similarly, you may create three parameter constructor over here. Okay, or okay. So when will the constructor will be called? Here, the constructor got called as soon as we created the object of the class. As soon as we created object of the class, which constructor get called? The default constructor. Here, which constructor got called? One parameter constructor. Here, two parameter constructor. So always remember, constructor will be called when you create object of the class. Understood? Any doubt, any confusion? Okay. This is as simple. Now, if you, for an example, uh, if you need to create object, if you need a constructor with all these values, can you do that? Yes, you can do that. Similarly, just like define public, there is no void and kind of syntax over here. Public employee, same class name. This is the body of my constructor. Let us say string name, comma, int id. Okay, and we have age salary. We have integer is
Hello Aniket, I am not able to hear you. Hello.
guys. We lost the connection. Can
Mm,
you can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I'll just wind the class within a minute. I have to go. Okay. Let me share my screen.
I have a stand up meeting now, 10 o'clock.
Oh
So
yeah, I also have an exam. So just give me a minute. In
yeah,
30 seconds, I'm winding up. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So right. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Now the connection is all lost again. I'm not able to hear you.